I wanted to talk to you today about this is a storage management solution. It's not a file system. It's called LVM, or Logical Volume Manager. It's just an alternative way of managing storage systems so that you don't have to go in and manage physical partitions. LVM can be mounted just like a disk partition, but there is an exception, and that is you cannot mount /boot on LVM. It has to be a partition, and that's a grub requirement. LVM, let's talk about that. There's three components to it. There are physical volumes. That's your medium. That's your disk. So yeah, each one of these will show up as a physical volume. The volume groups are used to map all the physical devices into one volume group. You can have as many volume groups as you'd like. You can have each device on its own volume group if you want to manage them that way. Or you can push them all into one gigantic space and use them as basically just a bunch of disks. Or you could declare your volume group as a RAID, and you can have RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 4, which is obsolete. You can have RAID 5, RAID 6, and even RAID 10. Just remember that these are software RAIDs. If you're using a RAID controller, then the device you're going to get back from the device controller already has the RAID in it. So all you want to do is manage the LVM as a top level group and manage the file system under it. But all the RAID stuff will be done by the card. Your logical volumes are your mount points. Those are the places where you carve up your physical storage into what would normally be called a partition. So the disk drive is a physical volume, the partition is the logical volume. And that's the way you can think of it. Those are mountable. And you can use ext4, ext3, XFS, Btrfs, whatever your heart desires that you want to put in there as the type of file system that it's being managed on it, you can. So what does this really look like anyway? So as you can see here, I've got a bunch of drives. One of them has been chopped up and the boot is on a partition, and the remaining space is pooled with the other drives to form my logical volume. So all three of those devices form my logical volumes, my logical volume group. And then from there, I carve up that space to be my logical volumes. So hopefully that makes sense. So you want to leave a little bit of free space at the end. And the reason, that's the whole thing about LVM, is that it allows you to run for a while and then see if you've added a bunch of new applications that you didn't plan for, which happens all the frickin' time. So, and you're finding that you're running out of disk space in a particular partition, then you can take that free space and you can map additional extents. That's what it's called, mapping additional extents onto the logical volume that needs the space and expand it. You don't have to go in and move this partition over here and shorten this one, expand that one. I mean, it's a lot less work to manage it with LVM. So it treats your disk like a central storage pool. And like I said, if you want to make life hard for yourself, keep managing with partitions. But most of us today use LVMs to manage it. So there's another version called LVM2. That's the default today, by the way, on most of the things that are new. That uses the device mapper driver. So, and it's basically to increase the efficiency and the speed of LVM. So it moves all that into the kernel, and the kernel just takes care of all that management pieces there for you. So you can create physical volumes from disk drives. You can create volume groups from physical volumes. That's the chain. You create logical volumes from volume groups, and you assign mount points to logical volumes. LVM2 is what brings in the new types of logical volumes. So what are they? There's a bunch of them. So the first one is a linear volume. That's the aggregate space from one or more disk drives. So just think of it as just a bunch of disks. So you're just piling them all in, you're throwing them into a logical volume group, and now you have all this space there from all those drives. You can have a striped logical volume. That is, you're writing data to a logical volume that lays the data out across multiple physical disk devices. Striping is best if you have large sequential files you're working with, video files. Maybe you're doing a lot of audio work. Maybe you're doing a lot of imagery, things that are huge and they just take up a lot of space. Then striped logical volumes is your best bet. If you've ever used Gluster, you'll find that that is true there as well. RAID logical volumes, we've talked about that. And there's also something called thin provision logical volumes. So that allows you to create volumes that are larger than the physical disks will support. And then thin provisioning only allocates space that's used. Even though you can say, oh, I want to set aside, let's say, 10 terabyte, and you only have physical disks that will support 4, that's okay. As long as you don't physically allocate to files, as long as you don't store more than 4 terabyte of files, you're okay. And it just allows you to add on those physical disks as you want to over time. And that your thin provision will just pick it up and keep using it. Snapshot volumes is another one. This is where you can create virtual images of a device without a service interruption. So if I need to snapshot the file system, maybe root, maybe it's var, whatever it is, if I want to snapshot that, I can do that and then keep going. So if I know I've got a bunch of changes coming, I'll probably want to snapshot my root. That way, if something goes horribly wrong, maybe it installs some libraries that are backdated, and then that blows up a bunch of applications that we're running. Remember, never, ever do any of that kind of stuff in production without first testing it on a test server. That should be common sense. But even in your home lab, you should be doing the same thing. Don't put your systems that you're using every day at risk and install new applications directly on them. That's what I use virtual machines for. I make sure that that thing is going to run with whatever is also running on that one machine. I do try to, break up the machines so that each one of them only has a single purpose. But sometimes you don't have a choice and you need to put it on there. Cache volumes are when you want to back up slower devices with high-speed drives for write-back caches or write-through caches. So yeah, let's go and play around with this a little bit, and then I'll come back at the end for some final comments. Okay, this time I'm going to do Fedora, and I'm going to look for my Fedora everything. I downloaded this one. This is for version 40. And we'll go ahead and go here. We're going to do the same thing. Going to put it in Spice. We're going to go to UFE. Local VM. Looks good. Keep going. We're going to give this a bunch of disk. And again, it's because I'm not sure if this one will lay it out or whether I have to do it all myself. I do know that the Fedora tool is way better than anything that Canonical has. The easiest one is Debian, because Debian will say, do you want to lay out a standard file system? And if you select it, it will create under the LVM, it will create the logical volumes that you need. Okay, so there we go. Let's go ahead and get the installer going. And we'll go ahead so that I don't confuse you between the two here. Because again, we're going to install the server version of Fedora with no GUI. Okay. Otherwise, it'll put GNOME out there, and we don't want that. We want to do this ourselves. And we'll install it from the group instead of using task select. It'll be a lot faster, believe me. Okay, so yeah, all this is standard stuff. We're just going to go through that. I'm going to let this kind of sit here a second. It'll catch up. There we go. And it's pick Chicago. That's good. This is wrong. I just want the server edition. Nothing else over here. And then we want to pick this. And we want to go to custom. I don't want Btrfs. So you see that I have a choice here between LVM and LVM then provisioning. I'm just going to do LVM to keep this consistent with the other. I can turn on encrypt it. It is on a VM, so I don't need to do that, obviously. So, all right. So here's my mount points. And we're going to add boot. And we're going to give that a 1.2 gig. And let's see. Good, it's a standard partition. And then we're going to do boot EFI. And we're going to give this 600 meg. These are, if you're wondering where I'm picking this up from, these are all the recommendations that you'll find out in the Fedora documentation for Fedora 40. So, all right, so we got all those. And now I think we're ready to do the next one. Let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to give this 15 gig, I think. And this time it picked LVM. It's given it a volume group of Fedora. So it created that, and it created an ext4. That's fine. All right. And so now we want to do bar. And we're going to give that 12 gig. And then we're going to go do temp, which you can just type in. We'll make that 2 gig. And then we're going to give it a swap. So why am I putting swap in front of home, you might ask? Well, it's very simple. So home is where I'm going to probably run out of disk space because that's where I'm going to put all my models. So I want the ability to be able to expand it when that happens. All my, yeah. All right. So now I could just let it take up the rest of the space. You see it's 57 down there. I'm going to give it 45 gig and leave some about 12 gig of free space. That will allow me, again, to adjust any of these that I might need. So I have everything I need. I have boot EFI and boot, which are both standard partitions. I have a swap. Now, we're going to have to deal with a problem that Fedora, during the install here, does not fix. And I'll show you that when we get to it. All right, let's go ahead and create my user ID. Everything looks good. Let's go ahead and let it install. And I'll be back when this is done. Okay, we're booting back into Fedora. Remember, this is a server. The giant cursor of death. Okay. Okay. I'm just going to see if I can oh, that's up. Okay, good. All right, let me do this then. It's 120. This will make it easier for you to see what I'm doing. So just so you know, that's the server I'm on. And there's my breakdown. So there's my home, my var, my temp, the 2 boot directories. And then we have 2 here, as you'll notice. I have my DM1 and ZRAM. So I want to get rid of ZRAM. So how do we get rid of that? I'm just going to do a search for ZRAM. Oh, I need to change my max parallel downloads too. Okay, so this guy right here, that's the guy we got to get rid of. So if I do, let me just go fix this real quick. I'll make it 10. All right. And we'll should be, it won't be gone until I reboot, but it's still running. So we'll go ahead and reboot it. Okay, so what I want to do at this point is, let's check it. It's gone. Now we can do, you know what? I think I'm going to wait to do that. So let's go ahead and put up my KDE. So what you do is, this is a group. So this is, okay. This should go pretty quick because I got the max parallel download set up real high. So it should go down pretty quick. And that's, I need to change the system D default environment. So let's do that. All right. Now we'll have to come back over here. Yeah, because, yeah, I don't turn X11 on for the SSH. All right, let's blow this up a little bit. So far, so good. Now it should initialize KDE for the first time. So this will take a minute. There we go. I'm just going to skip that. All right, so first thing I need to do is get this set up. Yep, so let's put it on dark and we'll hit apply. And then we'll go down here to display. Where are you? There it is. They keep moving. Yeah, they moved it around. I forgot about that. So we'll go up here and we'll set this to that. And it should say keep, and that's good. Okay, that all looks good. And let's see. Do I have Firefox? No. Okay, well, I lied. So I had to install Firefox, which is no big deal. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we need to fix that too, don't we? Let's do that too. Let me make this bigger so you can see it. Get rid of it. There we go. Oh, I think I muffed that. All right. Tons of packages. Well, it's not too bad, I guess. There's Firefox. I thought that it would install it, but it didn't. Skip. .604, we are using Wayland, and there is my LVM mappings, and so you can see that we are definitely up and running. So then let me go back over here to the, I'll be right back. So you're probably wondering, is there some overhead involved with LVM? Yeah, there is a little bit. I'll probably do some benchmarks. I'm not going to do those today. I just wanted you to see how to set this up. Now, as I said, Debian is the easiest of them because you can just say, I want an LVM environment and then give me the default separate mount points for var, home, and temp. And then it will do that, and that'll get you through one of the Linus's checks on your security, so you'll all be set up. And the second thing is LVM, as we had talked about earlier, gives you the ability to snapshot. It also gives you the ability to expand and contract your disks easily. So if you find that you've got too much space in one and not enough in another, you can adjust that way. You can also add in additional physical devices to that logical volume group, and once you've got that done, then you can just keep adding additional space to whatever partitions or change over your mount points however you want. Just remember that sometimes you may have to copy data in order to do that, and I would recommend anytime you're messing around with changing the size of something, there's always a potential that something could go wrong. Back up before you start. And make sure that backup is good. I mean, you may not need it, one time out of 999, it might work just fine until that one time. And then, kaboom, and then you lose everything that you've been working on for forever. So, whatever VM or whatever that is. It's no different when you're working on hardware or whether you're working on a VM. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this today. It's a real simple thing. But I find, that I didn't used to use LVM very much, but being around some of the system admins for a while, I'm not a system admin. It didn't come up that way. Well, I did, but the machines I worked on were, mainframes. So, but on the PC side with Linux, I didn't used to use LVM, used to just use partitions. So you learned a couple of things today. One, how to install what most system admins do. I can tell you that in most of the server farms I've been around, that includes IBM and Raytheon, they always put your boot drives in a mirror because you want the fastest access you can get. Sometimes the good ones will put it in a RAID 10. The bad ones will do a 1. The only problem with that is, is that when you're doing when you're doing mirrors like that, is that the writes are still going to be your slowest thing. So, but if you are using 10, then it speeds up everything a little bit. So, anyway, that's all I had for today, and hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please share it out with your friends. It helps the channel a little bit, helps the video too get out to more people. So, hope to see you on the next video, and bye for now.